Sorry once again. You look a little bit tired. I won't
Yeah,
take too long.
sorry. It's
Please excuse my possible grammar mistakes and Balkanian English, but I think that you understand each other. So you're not strangers in Croatia. You have been various time, and you are playing not in only in musical meccas and all around the world, but you have been visiting Croatia. If I got remember 4 or 5 times so far.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we've played two Croatian shows.
No, we play more than
No,
that.
it was more.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You
We've
played
played.
in Zagreb, Rijeka, Šibenik, Primošten.
You're right.
Yeah. We've played
Yeah, I
all
saw you. I saw you 2 times live. Could you, if you
Croatia.
remember, is there any reflections on your visits so far in Croatia regarding crowd or places?
Crowd rules. Croatian shows are always lit. Actually, almost all the former Yugoslav shows are just electric. We love playing there. We're
Mhm.
coming back in October. And we're really excited. Also, the food is amazing. It's a great place. What can
Yeah,
you
we
say?
we never imagined that we would be able to tour places like Croatia and Serbia and Kosovo and things like that, and Macedonia. I mean, it's really. I mean, I studied history, so I was super interested anyway in the whole history of the Balkans. So to be able to play shows there was really rad, and we've missed it. When was the last time we played? It was like
Last time we played Croatia,
20 2019, yeah.
19.
Before before Corona happened.
Yeah,
shit. Yeah, so we need to get
it's
back
been a
pronto.
while.
I was just wondering, wanted to ask you any future plans about touring in October, you said.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the exact dates, do we? But
But we're coming back for sure. We were just in Slovenia and Ljubljana a few weeks ago.
yeah, Kino
Mhm.
Fiska.
Hmm.
But I think we're playing some shows in. I haven't seen a Croatia date, but I'm sure we'll be there.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Tell me, please. Now it's a decade has passed since the beginning of the band. You are, let's say, some kind of social aware band, and you reflect through your music and the lyrics to the situation all over the world. Is there any time frustrating from your standpoint that music, maybe I'm wrong, but that music nowadays do not reflect and do not make changes like it has been done, let's say, past century? Have the music lost the strength, the music that you make? Do you think that you can make some changes regarding the audience you?
Yeah, that's an interesting questions. Do you get frustrated? I think the band, some of the stuff was born out of frustration. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
the world is so challenging and our own country is so fucked up. Being able to make art can come from frustration. It can come from that. So I think there's always that well and resource to reflect on your own experiences and your own past. So that's always there. And I don't get frustrated that music is or isn't one thing. I think there's plenty of people who make music that is social, that is born out of whatever context they're in. And I don't think that's necessarily changed. Maybe you could say that the music industry is very saturated and focused on celebrity, but is that any different than it ever was? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And there's also there's music for different occasions. That's what makes music what it is. All music doesn't need to be one thing. There's music for partying. There's music for funerals. There's music for weddings. There's music for sleeping. There's music for relaxing. There's music for dancing. There's music for getting angry. There's music for protesting. It's
Yes, but
music.
you are very specific in that case. I mean, we are talking about the band who has pretty much the most, possibly most mashed up music genres in one style. I mean, it's not only Afro experimental rock. So I think that there is no band in today's contemporary music scene that may mix up so much music styles and that it sounds like pretty much great.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that rap music does it the best.
Yeah.
I would say that rappers, particularly like somebody like Danny Brown on his previous record, they're able to mix up genres, and people don't talk about it as a mix up of genre. But like on those records, you've got psych, you've got krautrock, you've got punk, you've got noise, you've got power electronics, you've got everything, and it just feels like rap. Whereas like I guess in the band world, it's a different type of experience. Like most people aren't used to the maybe bands are much more genre specific and forced into boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I take that as a big compliment, and I think we were not trying to make a more hip hop album, but we were just reflecting that kind of experience, like the sampling technique that pulls from jazz, that pulls from everything.
Yeah, like look at the music Kanye West made before he died, you know, and like Jesus, look at how much different everything is in that record. But I think, like Ryan said, because you have somebody rapping over it, it's more digestible for the public to understand this as rap, so they don't think about the otherwise disparate elements that go into forming it. Mm-hmm. What we do is different, you know. We make postmodern music. We live in postmodern times. We're a band, and we live in our time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Johnny, one thing regarding your position in music industry and the independent scene, you have been on Matador since the first album, but mm-hmm. do you see any similar bands like yours? Because I don't know, now it comes to mind maybe Idols, maybe Viagra Boys, maybe Dalek. I don't know if they are active so far. Maybe TV on the radio before they split up. But who are the bands that you love to listen, and who were the major influences on your sound that Algiers sound like you sound?
Nina Simone, Gang of Four, DJ Premier, The Clash, certain records from The Clash, No Wave in its entirety.
But you as a listeners and you as a music fans from today's bands on contemporary music scene, possibly formed after 2020 when Algiers were born, is there any exciting music that you see after your band?
Oh, there's tons of tons of shit, but like anybody that sounds like us, I think that's the challenge, that's the difficulty, you know. Like we've toured with some bands that we love, like Downtown Boys. They don't really play much anymore, but we love them. I mean, they're straight ahead punk rock, but we still feel a kinship with them. We don't listen to Idols necessarily, but like I love backwoods hip hop. I love the whole record label. I love Woods. I love all the stuff that Elusive does. I love Arm & Hammer. I love all that. There's so much good punk rock these days too. Like the American and British punk rock scene is just like flowering. So like Toxic State Records, Static Shock Records, they put out so much good music. So like, but in terms of contemporaries, like we tried to put those people on our record. So like Backwash, for example, she makes music that's very different than ours, and you know more into metal, but we feel like we have a kinship with her. So
Boy Harsher,
we love.
Yeah.
There's a lot of features on your new album, on the Shook, and the PR we got, it said it's the album made by the band who almost broke up. What was it all about? Was that Corona influence or that COVID situation, or
it was Corona saved. It's being in a band is hard. We're not rich, we're not famous, and we struggle every day just to function. And before Corona hit, we
Sorry.
We played like 250 shows in a year, 1 year. You know, we're all, you know, you never have money. You never have your own space. You're never in the same place at the one time. You're never home. You can't have a home. You can't have a relationship. You can't have plants. You can't have pets. You can't have shit. You're just constantly going all the time. And without any kind of reward, without anything to gain from that, you burn out.
Okay,
And
Frank, but
right
please
at
tell.
the end, and then coronavirus happened, and it forced everything to just stop. And we, after we got over like the first week, which was the initial shock that we can't play anymore, it was like, oh, this is exactly what we needed, because we needed time to just sit in one place for a minute and not have to worry about where the next meal was coming from, and not have to worry about being on top of each other all the time, and having our own space, not having to worry about money. And then we were able to just exist. We were able to create music for the sake of creating music again. We were able to be friends again. And all of that stuff is important, because otherwise, if you just keep going and keep driving and keep going, you're gonna burn out. And we
Yeah,
almost
sure. Tell me, please, because now that you have mentioned, how come that one of the most original bands of today, when you said, okay, you are not famous, you are not rich, for the people that listen to that kind of music like myself, I mean, you are very famous. I don't know how rich you want to be, but since the music industry is changing and its distribution is constantly changing, can you live only from your music? And I mean, from incomes, streaming rights, because CD died and the way of distribution is constantly changing. The question is, what is the main source of band existing, Algiers existing? How come?
what's the main source of our being able to like make a living?
Yeah.
It's absolutely minimal, and I would say most of it comes from when we do get publishing, like syncs, but that's few and far between. And otherwise, it's, jeez, I don't even know, man. Per diems when we're on tour, we get like $15 a day to eat.
Yeah, we're definitely heading towards bankruptcy for sure.
And,
But
and what happens when you get the opportunity to be on the soundtrack of True Detective, and that like blood is one of the songs?
Financially,
yeah,
like a little,
a
but
little bit.
it's not as much money as you think. And
I
then
don't think at all.
like percentages go to the publisher, then it goes to your manager, and then by the time it gets to you and you split it 4 ways, it's like
It basically, thankfully, when like True Detective, and particularly with the first and second record, though, those helped us, you know, continue to be able to tour. Basically that helps us like function.
yeah.
Because we're in debt, so anytime we bring money in, that goes to pay off like credit card debts. Because you know how it is. Like when you tour, you have to, the band actually pays for everything.
Yeah.
Like so, it's crazy. So we put out this record, and then we did this tour in parts of Europe, and you have to front, like, to make it happen. You have to front like 15,000 to $20,000. You know,
Oh.
so. So we're really thankful when we have those opportunities with film and television that makes sense and that works. And it can be helpful just to enable us to continue to be able to make music. Basically, that's kind of where it is. What would be really satisfying is for us to be able to score an actual film from the start, rather than just have our songs being used. I think that's a quality that we really have. In fact, the way that I write, I find writing quote unquote popular music quite difficult. It's a challenge, and I think people don't give Frankie enough respect for his ability to write really nice songs that sound good, that connect, that have hooks. I find that challenging. And for me, I find composition way easier. So like scoring things is way easier for me. And it's just, you have different ways of approaching. And for me, I can write motifs and themes all day long. And so it would be really, really a nice thing to be able to score things from the start. I think maybe hopefully that's kind of a direction that we can go,
Yeah, totally.
Sure, great. Please tell me, just last but not least, one fan question. I don't want to bother you no more, but I'm I'm really interested in, because one of the hugest fans of the Zackom De La Rochom. Nice. How did you get him? How was the process? Did you record in the same studio, or it was?
No, we didn't.
I was one. Okay.
We wish we could have, but like that shit, like Zach came in real late. We didn't know if it was going to happen or not. Like our homie Sohail grew up with Zach. So there's a professor named Sohail Dolatai who teaches at UC Irvine, and he did a book called the 50 Years of the Battle of Algiers. So he was connected to our band through the historical references. And that book, it's a really short book, but that book kind of really is a great synopsis of a lot of the themes. And particularly if you're talking about the political side or the social side, that book captures basically everything that we could say about why we called ourselves Algiers. So he connected with us on that level. He grew up with Zach, and you know, he tries to get everybody into our music, and Zach's one of the dudes that he got into our music. And Zach was at one of our shows in LA with Savages, and we met him and we talked shit about, I talked to him about like some of the old rap shit that he did. So like at the turn, like I guess at the turn of the century, he was doing stuff, maybe even the 90s, but he was doing like, he did a record with KRS-One, for example. So I talked to him about that, and I know Frank probably talked to him about the Lakers or something. Because you know, he's a Lakers and Dodgers fan.
Yeah, I was afraid to punish him. So we just talked about basketball, but he's super cool. That's the craziest thing is when you meet people like that, and we're fortunate enough that when we do meet somebody like Zach, like they're real, and so you would never know talking to them who they are, what they've accomplished, and what they've done. Talk to them is just like a dude, which is cool. You know.
So if ever happens next reunion, Rage Against the Machine, we may expect Algiers as special guests. And
dude, that'd be so sick. Cool. Like, get us on, put us on, Zach. But I think they, yeah, hopefully they actually do their next tour, because I know he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's super down, and that actually came in. That was the last thing that happened on the record. In fact, we had already. Did we already send it to mastering?
That's a good flip. Had we already sent the record to mastering by the time Zach got involved? And then we called it back?
Got involved.
Not got involved, but by the time he recorded his...
It had already been mastered.
Yeah. So wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. The last thing. And luckily we had carved out the space for it either way. So it was exciting.
Yeah. We're probably gonna have a meal with him when we go to LA next week. So if he does show up, because we're meeting up with our buddy Sohail, our aforementioned friend. So if he does show up, we can touch base if you come to one of our shows in Croatia.